In the period from May 16th to May 30th, 2025, the heavens are preparing a whole series of rare astrological phenomena that promise to be a real shock to the entire zodiacal circle, and especially strong influence will have on the representatives of the sign of Pisces. It all begins on May 16th, when Ceres, the dwarf planet that represents care, fertility, and rebirth, makes its entrance into Aries. This marks the opening of the so-called corridor of happiness, a powerful period of transformation and renewal, a time when everyone will hold the keys to wealth, unprecedented good fortune and personal power. This first wave of positive changes will be supported and enhanced by a number of other, no less significant and unique transits. The combination of these astrological forces will have a special impact on the delicate and receptive nature of Pisces, setting off a chain reaction of insights in their lives, opening the way to a financial breakthrough, freeing them from the shackles of manipulation and giving them the opportunity for a complete reboot in the realm of love. This is the time when Pisces will be able to throw off the shackles of victimhood and become the true chosen ones of destiny, gaining happiness and material prosperity. So, on May 16th, Ceres will open the corridor of happiness, which will be a real shock for the entire zodiacal circle. Pisces will begin to change literally before their eyes. Entering Aries, Ceres will activate two key astrological houses for Pisces, the 7th and 5th. What does this mean in practice? The influence of celestial bodies has a noticeable impact on the representatives of the sign of Pisces, prompting them to change their behavior and worldview. One planet is responsible for strengthening alliances, establishing partnerships and gaining public recognition, while the other stimulates creative self-expression, discovering personal talents and finding inner harmony. It is this combination of energies that becomes a powerful impetus for Pisces to take action. Instead of withdrawing from the outside world and go into themselves, they seek to establish contacts, openly express their thoughts and act decisively. This transformation does not go unnoticed by others, causing surprise and even amazement, because such behavior from them few expected. The epiphany and deliverance from illusions caused by the influence of Ceres in Aries makes Pisces abandon fruitless hopes for a miracle. Instead comes the realization of the need to take responsibility for one's life to avoid being exploited by others. There is no more room for fruitless fantasies, self-pity and naive expectations that someone can understand them half-heartedly. Pisces begin to soberly assess the surrounding reality, clearly distinguishing those who are around out of fear, self-interest or sincere sympathy. Based on this analysis, they make informed decisions about building contacts, guided not by intuition, but by real facts. This is not a manifestation of rigidity, but a sign of maturity and awareness. As a result, there is the destruction of three major stereotypes associated with representatives of this sign. First, goes into the past the idea of Pisces as a soft and malleable nature. Now they themselves set the rules of the game, and few dare to cross them. Secondly, the myth of eternal doubts tormenting Pisces is disproved. On the contrary, they have learned to quickly and decisively say yes or no without feeling remorse. And now, at the third stage, when the inner storm subsides, Pisces, once tormented by quiet envy, find the long-awaited calm. They are no longer tormented by inner boiling, as a personal, inspiring purpose appears in their lives. They no longer look at other people's accomplishments as a source of threat, but as living proof that success is attainable for everyone, including themselves. Pisces gradually emerge from the state of the victim, realizing that the only obstacle in their way, themselves. Once infantilism gives way to maturity, the fifth house of the horoscope is activated, opening the door to creativity, recognition, and new career opportunities. Hobbies that once seemed frivolous, suddenly turn into a source of income. It is at this point that Pisces enters the long-awaited corridor of happiness, but not in the world of dreams, but in real actions. On May 18th, when the true node squares Jupiter, Pisces stops trying to be convenient for everyone. The inclusion of the true node and its hard aspect to Jupiter exposes Pisces' weakness, their excessive gullibility, hardiness, and tolerance. What they are usually praised for turns out not to be a virtue, but an excuse for manipulation. Comes to realize that patience and pity for others can turn against themselves. Pisces begin to realize that not all the people around them, real friends, even if they bestow them with wide smiles. Women born under the sign of Pisces, especially acutely feel this change. They see how husbands, who forgave too much, children, who take care for granted, and colleagues, shifting their work on them, abuse their kindness. There are often circumstances in life when individuals are manipulated by guilt, duty, or fears of loneliness. However, as practice shows, such strategies fail, causing neither violent emotional outbursts nor a sense of sacrifice. A simple lack of response is a sufficient response. The influence of Jupiter in square not only does not weaken, but also stimulates personal growth, encouraging people to move from introspection to active action. This process reveals an important aspect: people who seem close can actually be a source of life energy drain. Psychological and esoteric sensitivity is sharpened to the extreme, allowing one to instantly recognize envy, hidden reproaches, and devaluing statements such as, "You are too sensitive, you cannot survive." Anyone with a poisonous influence is immediately excluded from the environment, regardless of family ties or years of friendship. What makes them unique is their well-developed intuition, which is not an obstacle during this period, but rather serves as a reliable tool. Instead of feeling pity for everyone, the individual activates defense mechanisms, relying on an internal filter. He does not need proof, as feelings become the determining criterion. If after communicating with someone there is an outflow of energy, this person is excluded from the circle of communication without explanation. Just take a step forward and they are no longer around. It is impossible to move along the corridor of happiness as long as there are those who subconsciously keep you in the role of a convenient person. Jupiter, like a celestial conductor, gives the representatives of the sign of Pisces powerful impulse to liberation, while the karmic knot of fate unmistakably points to the source of problems. For some, this source may be an old acquaintance, skillfully manipulating the sense of pity under the mask of understanding and sympathy. For others, a close relative, masterfully causing Pisces guilt for their own dissatisfaction with life. In such situations, Pisces, as a rule, prefer to keep silent, smooth out the sharp edges and pretend that everything is fine. However, this time the situation changes dramatically. They not only acutely feel the pressure exerted on them, but also refuse to silently participate in this game. And it is at this moment that fresh energy bursts into their lives, new horizons open up, interesting proposals come in, useful contacts are made, and promising ideas are born, for which they had no time, energy, or space before. The space around Pisces begins to expand, freeing themselves from the presence of those who occupied in their lives alien place. And the more honest and frank they will be first of all with themselves, the faster the mechanism of financial renewal will be launched, opening new opportunities to improve the financial situation. May 20th, when the Sun enters Gemini, Pisces begins to act decisively and unpredictably, leaving others amazed by their actions. As the Sun enters Gemini, the 4th and 2nd houses in the Pisces horoscope become more active, responsible for personal resources and the inner core, giving them confidence in their own abilities and encouraging them to take action. There is a striking metamorphosis in the behavior of representatives of the sign of Pisces. They gain purposefulness, acting without excessive tension, but with confidence, pushed by solar energy to active action. Now they are not just aware of their desires, and boldly go to their realization, without needing excuses and without embarrassment. Those around them are amazed not by violent protests or conflicts, but by Pisces' sudden cessation of explanations for their decisions. Being soft and accommodating by nature, they suddenly give preference to financial stability, clear organization and personal gain, while demonstrating enviable calmness. Gemini's influence brings flexibility and adaptability to their actions. Pisces does not seek to destroy the situation, and skillfully bypass obstacles, do not make demands, but prefer to negotiate, do not complain about circumstances, and make constructive suggestions. Financial changes cover different layers of society. Ordinary workers find opportunities for additional income and do not hesitate to implement them, and immediately get involved in the work. Employees optimize their work schedule, seeking to increase earnings with less time, and achieve success in this endeavor. Entrepreneurs abandon unprofitable projects that brought only emotional burnout, and move to profitable activities. Retirees stop providing financial support to adult children, constantly complaining about the situation, and the need to improve the quality of life of their children. Success is often attributed to luck, but for representatives of the sign of Pisces it is more the result of a conscious choice, not to lose themselves, do not cling to the past and do not agree to unfavorable conditions. It is such a decision opens before them the door to prosperity, because financial success accompanies those who do not sacrifice themselves for the sake of others. May 25th will mark an important astrological event. Mercury will enter Gemini, ending the period of financial difficulties for Pisces. Mercury has a strong position in this sign, which, despite the potential difficulties, will have a positive impact on the representatives of this sign. The transit of Mercury through the fourth house, associated with the basics of life, family and real estate, will bring to the fore material issues, housing, investments, debts. However, instead of fear and panic, Pisces will show structured thinking. Financial anxiety will give way to a clear plan of action and understanding of the next steps. Getting rid of poverty will not happen through struggle, but as a natural result of changes in thinking. Those who are used to living in austerity mode will suddenly find that money not only covers necessary expenses, but also allows you to make savings. Purchases will no longer be a burden, but will become an everyday occurrence. Expenses will no longer require sacrifice. Surroundings will be surprised by the metamorphosis that occurred with Pisces. Yesterday still kind and responsive, but tight on funds, today they radiate confidence and stability, which may cause envy in some. Sometimes it happens that Pisces unexpectedly find support from where it was not expected. Whether it is a favorable deal that saves the business, suddenly came to mind a brilliant idea, generous investment, or even a big win, the universe seems to find ways to shower this sign of the zodiac benefits. However, the essence is not in the source of enrichment, but in the fact that Pisces gets rid of the oppressive fear of financial collapse, poisoning the psychology of scarcity. Mercury radically changes their thinking, and money is no longer an insurmountable problem. For the first time, Pisces feels that the material sphere is under control, and without anyone's help. The new moon in Gemini on May 27th makes Pisces take a new look at love, abandoning the world of reverie and moving into action. This new moon occurs in the fifth house of Pisces, the zone of feelings, desires, love and passion. The powerful influence of the moon, reinforced by the air element of Gemini, takes Pisces out of its usual emotional scripts. Everything that previously seemed inappropriate, untimely, or impossible comes to the forefront, awakening a new resolve. This is especially evident in love, where Pisces stops indulging in romantic illusions, where the partner is only an idealized image. Now the center of attention is a real person and genuine feelings. In society there is a tendency to reevaluate interpersonal ties, when people begin to wonder who is around, a sincere loving person or someone who is just looking for personal gain. There comes the realization that true love is not just a joint overcoming of life's difficulties, but a continuous development and a conscious choice of each other. Even those who have long been disappointed in their personal life, suddenly feel the need for closeness and warmth of heart. This is especially evident in people of mature age, which awakens interest in sensual pleasures, flirtation and self-expression. The intimate sphere ceases to be a taboo topic or a memory from the past. Men who previously avoided serious relationships, revise their views. This happens not under the pressure of circumstances, but because of the realization of the opportunity to be sincere without losing their individuality. Women who are accustomed to adjusting to others or passively waiting for attention, radically change their behavior. They stop paying attention to public opinion, age stereotypes and personal fears. If there is a desire to get acquainted with someone, they boldly go to contact. If they feel mutual interest, they reciprocate. And most importantly, thanks to such openness and confidence, they meet worthy partners, with whom there is not pity or compromise, but a true soul correspondence. This is how the emotional impact of the new moon is manifested, without excessive dramatization, but with a clear awareness of their right to be close to those who bring joy. The energy of love transforms the horizons of the future, because in the sign of Pisces the tendency to passive waiting disappears, giving way to active choice. On May 30th, the planet Ceres completes its influence, and Jupiter and Pluto complete the corridor of happiness. Ceres leaves the zone of influence, completing a 2-week process of transformation. It culminates in a rare biquintile aspect between Jupiter and Pluto, spanning the 11th and 12th houses of Pisces, summarizing the inner and outer levels. Jupiter empowers inner resolve, ridding Pisces of hesitation. They gain a clear understanding of their desires and aversions. Pluto dispels the remnants of illusions and rose-colored glasses, dashing hopes of sudden change. It becomes obvious that when dissatisfied with life, one must act to avoid dramas. It is important to note that the corridor of happiness closes, and those who have had time to seize its opportunities anchor a new lifeline. Those left waiting run the risk of reverting to previous scenarios. However, those who have accepted the change are no longer afraid of reality, which becomes a reliable defense against future trials. A transformation takes place. Poverty ceases to be both an ingrained way of thinking and a coincidence of circumstances. Adversity recedes as the passive habit of patience disappears. It is replaced by a clear realization of one's own goals and an unwavering determination to defend them. Individuals previously in a state of survival become objects of envy. Hardened by adversity, they gain an unshakable self-confidence that makes them virtually invulnerable to external influences. Nothing and no one can make them stray from their path.